For the NC State defense to succeed in 2025, it's imperative that they force pressure in the backfield. Nose tackle Brandon Cleveland is the guy for the job.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Thursday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner, and you need to visit the FanDuel app today and start planning all of your future bets right now. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Sorry we've been away for just a little bit. We had a very special event on Tuesday night down in Wilmington. We actually were guests of the New Hanover branch of the NC State Alumni Association. Humongous shout out to Bruce Lennon and Carson Ashley for inviting us to be guest speakers down there for their preseason kickoff happy hour. We had a blast. We get to talk some NC State football, and it was such a great time meeting some fellow NC State fans. You could feel the buzz in the room. Kickoff is now just 2 weeks away. We cannot wait any longer to get this thing going. Kenton, obviously, we're going to stick with our Impact series today on Thursday. We're going to talk some defense, more specifically, Brandon Cleveland. Now, Brandon Cleveland was a very key returnee for the 2025 season upcoming. He's in a new system under DJ Elliott, but we're expecting him to be a force on the defensive line.
Yes, Brandon Cleveland is coming into his last year. He's been an impact player on this defensive line for quite some time. I mean, last year, if you watch the film and roll it back, there were multiple times where if he had a little bit more help, the defense probably would have yielded much better results. And if he had a little bit more help, we've talked about the linebacking core ad nauseum and what they were last year. There were moments where if guys just do their job at like a standard level, not like we need you to be Peyton Wilson and make the play for just literally fill the gap you're supposed to fill. Brandon Cleveland would have had a statistically much better season, but if ifs and buts were berries and nuts, squirrels would never starve. So he got the numbers that he got. But again, the film showed him having a massive impact at a true nose guard position, at a true zero technique where he's head up over the center. In Elliott's scheme, he'll be playing everything from about a 0 to a 3. He'll be playing all up and down the line in a meaningful way, at times maybe even creeping out to a 4-eye a little bit in certain run situations, at least from what I've heard. So he is a special talent. He's got long arms. I mean, he can scratch his knees standing up as long as his arms are. He's the type of guy that he can, when he locks out an offensive lineman, all you see is their arms just reaching and hoping that they can get to him. And not to mention his explosiveness and his get off, both in the pass and run game, make him a really tough player to get around or deal with. But again, in last year's system, if you aren't blitzing, teams can dedicate 3 guys to the inside. Or even if you said, well, we got to take care of Davin Van, you can still go double team Van, double team him, and you still got a one-on-one with the other edge, whoever that may be. So Brandon Cleveland, I think he'll be freed up. I think he'll have his statistical best season of his career, health and all that being what it should be, and him having a fully healthy season. I think that he'll have his statistical best season at NC State by a mile because, again, the young man, the film says he should be uber productive statistically. It's just always right there. Always just need a little bit more from the guys around him. And so, now when he's playing in that 2-eye, 3 technique type of situation, he'll be seeing more one-on-one blocks and he'll be having the ability to penetrate and make plays.
I think you said it extremely well. The numbers don't exactly pop off the page, but the film for Brandon Cleveland, it does not lie. He had a little bit of a strange year statistically, but again, in that 3-3-5 system with Tony Gibson, it makes life a little bit tougher on the defensive line if they're not just wreaking absolute havoc in the backfield, which at times they do. We're talking about both Davin Van and Brandon Cleveland, but statistically speaking, he had a better year in 23 than he did last year in 24. And that also checks out because the defense had holes and struggles all over the place on that same note. So 2023, he had 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. Last year, he only registered a half sack, although he did have a career high in tackles. So what should you expect this year from Brandon Cleveland? I think a whole lot more havoc. I do think this new defensive system with DJ Elliott, I think it's going to present a lot more opportunity for Brandon Cleveland to get into the backfield, maybe register more forced fumbles, more recovered fumbles, and hopefully more sacks on top of that as well. I think Brandon Cleveland is lining up for what should be his best statistical year at NC State, and hopefully that will also translate into him getting drafted in the NFL draft. On the flip side of that, Kenton, what do you think are some potential hurdles that Brandon Cleveland will have to clear this year?
Obviously, new system and the linebacking core. Like I said, last year, if the linebacking core was just a little bit better, because when you look at what 2 years ago was and why he was statistically better, guys were being forced back into him. When he was getting upfield, running backs were left with no choice. Well, then, I guess I'm gone. Quarterbacks were forced with no choice. But okay, well, somebody's going to tackle me. I'll be okay with that. As opposed to this year, when they're, offenses objectively by the statistics had a lot more free reign to move and do. And a defensive tackle in that type of situation, you can only do so much. So I think that those are kind of limiting factors there, because I think the linebacker core is in a similar spot to last year in terms of very talented at the top. I will say, I have heard, and from what I've seen, the depth is a little better than last year in the linebacking core. But still, when you play defensive line, although you can impact the game at a very high level, football is still a team sport. What you eat with your left hand can still get your right foot chopped off, right? That's just how this thing works. So it working in conjunction with a linebacker core that should be improved, and that, again, is getting back a healthy Caden Fordham, he should see increases.
Again, you said it well. I think the overall shift in the defensive system, if it doesn't just quite click with the defensive line and the linebackers forcing consistent pressure all year, maybe you don't see much of a jump in terms of his numbers. I just find that hard to believe, especially the back half of last year, namely that Georgia Tech game. For whatever reason, that game really sticks out for me as like a Brandon Cleveland game trademarked. He was in that backfield all night long, wreaking havoc and blowing up a lot of plays before they had a chance to develop. And if you can extrapolate an effort like that one against a team that runs as well as Georgia Tech does, again, I think you're having a great lineup for potentially an even bigger year in 2025. But again, if it doesn't click with the defensive line, if you can't force enough pressure, maybe Cleveland does see a lot of double teams this year because he's probably expected to be the prominent force on that defensive line. It might be some continued uphill sledding for him, but I just find that hard to believe. I think he's ready to go. He's an excellent young man, one of the best personalities on this team, maybe has the biggest heart as well. We talked about Tuesday night that one of his first things that he did with his NIL was buy his mom a car. I think the second thing he did was give out a bunch of backpacks to some elementary school kids in need. So excellent human being, outstanding player. We're looking for big things from Brandon Cleveland in 2025. Obviously, for defensive linemen, we're going to use sacks. It's the most prominent stat for a D lineman. Although there's other metrics like TFLs or forced fumbles. We're going to go with sacks for Brandon Cleveland. I've set the mark at 2.5. As I told you, his career high for sacks was 3. So, Kenton, do you think he's going to clear or maybe match his career best this season?
In the words of Joe Budden, circa 2003, pump it up. He's going to get over 2.5. I think that he comfortably clears 2.5 because, again, I think, when you look at the top defensive tackles in the ACC last year, they were at a pace of about 5 sacks in terms of the top 3 to 4. I believe the young man, Jared Dawson, who's now at Notre Dame, was number 4 or 5, and he had 4. I think that Brandon Cleveland's that type of defender. He's that type of pass rusher. He can get himself to 3. I think that he'll do it. Sacks are always very finicky, especially on the inside, because you can do everything right. And then if somebody doesn't keep contained, the quarterback's out the gate, and it's like, oh, well, that's what do you want me to do? But I think that he gets 3. I think with the way that he disrupts, with the way that he gets upfield, and the biggest thing is with another year of experience, he'll be able to smell out things that, he might not have been able to do before in terms of, something's funky right here. Why is everybody on the offensive line so far back? I know what you are. I know what's happening here. So I think he gets 3.
And the way that DJ Elliott's system was presented to all of us, the Wolfpack fans, is that it is hell-bent on forcing pressure into the backfield in the form of TFLs and sacks. And I think if that is true and the system works, Brandon Cleveland's going to clear 2.5. I think you're looking at potentially 4 or 5 sacks for Cleveland this year. And sometimes that can be tough as, the nose tackle, a very interior lineman at that, but I think he can do it. We know the level of talent he has because he's been blowing up lines even despite being double teamed now for a couple of years. So I think he's going to clear 2.5. He might even do it with ease. Coming up next, we're going to get into our all-time NC State offensive team. Shout out to Markel Johnson's burner for the idea. We're talking offense today, defense tomorrow, and we can't give up on special teams either. We're going to talk them as well. But our all-time Wolfpack offensive team coming up next. Our first Thursday sponsor is FanDuel. August the 26th is now officially FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1, this is your moment. If you're going to take a flyer on the MVP race, do you think Lamar Jackson can do it again? Maybe Josh Allen goes back-to-back. Again, now's the time to get those in. Or you can parlay your division winners, which I have already done. I'm taking the Eagles, I'm taking the Chiefs, I'm taking the Bills, and I'm taking the Ravens. Those feel like 4 locks to me. My gift to you. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Middle portion of our Thursday show. Again, shout out to Markel Johnson's burner for the idea. He asked on Twitter, what are everyone's all-time NC State Wolfpack teams? We're talking offense, we're talking defense, and special teams as well. We're going to break this up, obviously. Today, we will focus on just the offense, the offensive 11. So how I've categorized this, you get 1 quarterback, you get 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 5 offensive linemen. Kenton, I'll let you go first.
The obvious first pick at quarterback is the guy who's in the graphic here, Phillip Rivers. I mean, he's littered all throughout our record books, and I think he's not only the premier standard in terms of NC State quarterbacks, but darn near ACC quarterbacks. And you look at who was the greatest and who, had the greatest career and all that good stuff. I don't think that there's too much argument for anybody outside of Phillip Rivers there. For running back, I got a little greedy. Grayson. I got a little greedy, okay? I went with Ted Brown, of course, as one of them, okay? And my second one, I was on the verge. I was this close to taking T.A. McClendon, but then I thought, why have just a running back when you could get a running back, a fullback, a jet sweep specialist, an extra tight end? You could get a guy that could do a lot of things at this second running back slot. And so I took Jalen Samuel. I took J. Sam at the second running back slot, okay? I had to do it. T.A. McClendon was phenomenal. This is taking nothing away from him. He was a phenomenal running back. And if it was strictly you had to play your position, then I would replace J. Sam with T.A. as the running back and say, hey, the beauty of J. Sam and what made him so great was all of the different things he could do. But if you had to force one, I'll leave T.A. But if it's open for this player can play more than just that, I'll take J. Sam. And at wide receiver, this one ain't too hard for me. Torrey Holt, of course, the big game hunter. He's obviously got to be the first receiver. The second receiver was a little bit more challenging because you had Jericho Cotchery, who had a lot of success in the NFL. You had a guy like Thayer Thomas, who, what real life Rudy darn near, right? Guy walks on, and who's this skinny baseball kid on the field, And then all of a sudden, by the middle of the second quarter, you're saying somebody's got to stop that white boy. That's what was going on there, okay? Better story than anybody. But the other receiver I've got to go with, I thought to myself, what would this offense need? Because Torrey Holt is your guy that's going to stretch the field. And with J. Sam, same type of thing. He's going to clear out some space whenever you put him at tight end or that H-back flex position. So what do I need most? I need a big body. I need a red zone threat. I need a guy with some big, strong hands. Give me a Mecca Mezzi as my second receiver there. And at the tight end position, this boy was born with that dog in him. He's so much so The first team he played at was also mascotted after a dog. Give me Justin Jolie. Some people are going to say it's too early. You ain't played enough with the pack. And, there were other guys. But here's the thing. How many tight ends have we ever had that led the team in terms of receiving? How many guys did we have at tight end that we were screaming, he needs the ball more. He needs the ball all the time. Just get it to him some way, somehow. Because Justin Jolie is that guy. And then for the offensive line, give me Tooney. Give me Richter. Give me Bradbury. Give me Big Ick. And at the other tackle, some people might not like this, but he's my pick, and I'm going with him. That's my man. I'm going to stick beside him. Jacarius Pete. Come on down, bro.
Ooh.
Starter since his freshman year. Redshirt is true freshman year, but started since his freshman year. Started the back half of his freshman year. And just out of curiosity, Grayson, do you know what his first start was as a NC State offensive tackle?
What game it was?
Yes.
Oh, let's see. That would have been 2 years ago, so 2023. I don't know. Clemson, maybe?
Yes. Against Clemson, who's
Wait, really?
For those of you, yes, his first start was against Clemson. For those of you who don't realize, Clemson has had more ACC Defensive Players of the Year than they've had consecutive streaks of 5 years without one. I want you to think about that for a second. They had, since Dabo became head coach, they have more ACC Defensive Players of the Year than they have had times where they went 5 years without having a Defensive Player of the Year. And almost all of their Defensive Player of the Year were defensive linemen. Almost all of them. Daquan Bowers, Vic Beasley. And now we're staring down the barrel of Peter Woods and TJ Parker. That was his first start. That's what he was thrown into. And do you know what Jacarius Pete did in that game and for the next few games, Grace?
Held his own?
Not only did he hold his own, there is a direct correlation between Jacarius Pete starting and the 5-game win streak. He started Clemson and never relinquished his spot. So Clemson, Miami, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, all wins, all came with Jacarius Pete manning the right tackle position, which was something that Grayson and I said, hey, you can't go back. You can't go back because the offensive line being effective was definitely what took this team to the next level. So, while I am expecting great things from him this season, I truly think with the way he played last year and the fact that we have rarely ever seen an offensive lineman correlate with that type of success right off the bat, I've got to tell you, that's the guy for me as my 5th offensive lineman.
I like it. I like some of the picks that are also projection in terms of Jolie, and I got to tell you, he's not my pick for tight end, but it was about a hair off because I'll tell you this much. I think he would be my pick if you do it next year. If we do the same conversation next year, I think Jolie's going to be my pick because he's going to win the John Mackey Award. Just throwing that out there. Okay, quarterback, I'll keep this brief. It's Phillip Rivers. Sorry if you don't think so. I don't know why you wouldn't think so. Maybe Russell Wilson. I can hear it. I can hear some Jamie Barnett. I get it. If you're saying some Roman Gabriel, if you were around back then to watch Roman Gabriel, that's great. But it's a little difficult for me to put somebody on this team knowing that I didn't see them with my own 2 eyes. I can watch the clips, but it just doesn't quite hit the same. Phillip Rivers is the obvious quarterback choice for me. My 2 running backs, I do have Ted Brown. I know I just said it's hard for me to pick people I didn't watch, but Ted Brown owns all the running back records at NC State just about, so that's a clear answer. My second answer is Matt Days. I loved some Matt Days. Dizzy Days, they used to call him. He was an extremely solid running back. Kenton played with the guy. He could absolutely get it done, and I think he gets overlooked a lot of the time and how consistently good he was for NC State. So my second running back is Matt Days. I also want to point out how close I was to thinking about some Hollywood Smothers here. I think he is real close to knocking on the door. I think he's going to have a monster year. I just love Hollywood Smothers. He has a great personality. He's an excellent human being. That was very close for me. Again, maybe ask me next year. I might have a different answer. My 2 wide receivers, obviously you have to lead with the great one. That's Torrey Holt, the best to ever do it at NC State. NFL Hall of Fame, if you're listening. Wake up, folks. What the hell are y'all doing? Get him in the hall. He's more than worthy. He's one of the best to ever do it, not just in college football, but in the NFL as well. My second wide receiver is Jericho Cotchery. Again, kind of an obvious answer. He's in the record books everywhere. Obviously, I love Thayer Thomas. I think he was my answer for most underrated wide receiver of all time, because I think that's true. A walk-on to in the record books is unprecedented, but I got to go with Torrey Holt and Jericho Cotchery there. My tight end is Jalen Samuels, even though that's kind of cheating a little bit for the same reason that Kenton put him at running back. You don't really put him in a box of what position he plays because he can do literally everything. But NC State kind of used him as that hybrid, like an H-back, does a little bit of everything. Sometimes they consider him to be a tight end. Jalen Samuels is one of my favorite players of all time for NC State. He's my best tight end in that spot. And then my offensive lineman, I got Ike Ekwonu, I got Jim Richer, Garrett Bradbury. I put Will Richardson, which is not exactly a popular answer that I've seen so far, but he played when I was in school and I was watching a beast out there on Saturday, so he gets my answer there. And then lastly, of course, you have Joe Thuney, perhaps the most storied of all of our offensive linemen, goes to the NFL and wins the Super Bowl seemingly every single freaking year. So shout out to Joe Thuney. Shout out the rest of these all-time offensive NC State Wolfpackers. I've seen some lists on Twitter already, but if you have not put yours out in the world, drop them in our YouTube comments. Very curious to see who y'all have as the all-time NC State offense. And then coming up next, our last couple minutes on Thursday, NC State football dropped the countdown announcement on Twitter and their website. Are we smelling some new uniforms? I think we're smelling some new uniforms. We'll talk about this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Thursday sponsor is Wayfair. As the summer begins to wind down, there's just something nice about getting back into routines that you love. Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the seasons ahead. From bedding to linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh every room in your home. Right now is simply the perfect time to get your home ready for the fall season. Whether that's organizing, upgrading your workspace, or making weeknight dinners easier, everything you need is on Wayfair, convenient to find, fast and free to ship. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routines for just simply way less. Head on over to wayfair.com right now and shop all things home. That's Wayfair, wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Last couple of minutes of our Thursday show, NC State football tweeted out a very interesting video early today. It was a clip of a montage, an edit per se. It said 24 hours flashing across the side of it. You saw an acorn, you saw the word Raleigh, you saw the skyline, and then you saw a timer, a 24-hour timer, and then you saw a link, a URL to gopack.com, and it led you to this here countdown that I now have on the screen. Obviously, that screen is frozen in time as a screenshot, but it's counting down to Friday at 9:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kenton, are we talking about new uniforms here? Is that what's going down?
Well, I would hope that that's it. I would hope that we are not having any team-wide gender reveals or anything like that. I know camp can get hard and lonely. No, I'm just joking. But in all seriousness, I believe that this is probably, we're looking at some type of alternate uniform of some sort that is very much so Raleigh themed and inspired. I'm very intrigued to see. I'm intrigued to see what this countdown is for. I'm not gonna lie to you. Y'all know me. I've never been a big uniform guy. I've never really cared much about the uniform. To me, it's like, hey, how do you play in the uniform? Okay, you can have the iciest uniform there is or the ugliest uniform there is. If you're terrible in it, if you don't play well in it, you don't play well in it, and that's that. So I believe that this is most likely a jersey or uniform reveal of some kind, but I'm intrigued to see what the deal is.
I know a uniform reveal when I smell one. And you talk about the timing of said announcement. Again, we're about to be inside 2 weeks away from the season dropping. Right now, the weeks leading up to kickoff is typically when you start to see all of these uniform reveals for a lot of teams across the country. So that makes sense. And then you get into the smaller details like releasing this at 9:19 a.m. Also, it was tweeted on Thursday morning at 9:19 a.m. They must think they got Taylor Swift in the marketing department right now, but this is very clearly going to be a uniform reveal. You can smell it from a mile away. You can see it from a mile away. And to Kenton's point, it feels like it's going to be a Raleigh-themed either jersey or uniform itself. I hope it's just a whole uniform because, I don't know, we want the whole thing. Don't give us just a jersey. We want the whole entire thing. A Raleigh-themed uniform. What are your ideas on maybe what that'll include?
I'm not sure. It could be the Carolina flag on the helmet or something like that. The state of North Carolina flag, of course, on the helmet or
sick,
something like
actually.
that. Yeah, it could be something along the lines of Raleigh skyline on like somewhere in the jersey. Remember how they used to have like the North Carolina flag in the white jerseys? Like it was like a passing design in the white. They could do something like that. I don't know, man. It's a lot of different ways this could go. It's only a few that it could go where I'd be like, all right, don't want any parts of that. Go back and delete it. And that probably have to do with, we're known as the city of Oaks, and they dropped the acorn at midnight on New Year's and all that. Don't have anything involving nuts. Don't have anything involving acorns on that jersey. If you do something with that, hey, I'm not saying that at that point I would have to report some fraud going on in the athletic department and say, hey, somebody's stealing from the program. Somebody is taking money and they just chilling up in there. It might be at that time.
To your point, the use of the acorn in the video is making me a little nervous. If we just have an acorn on the side of our helmet, I think y'all can keep it. I'm going to pray that's not the case, but y'all can keep it if that's the case. I would like to see a City of Oaks incorporation, but I don't know, one way or the other. Just an acorn is not going to move the needle for me. Some type of skyline incorporation like Kento was talking about, I think that could be really cool. Maybe they do use the numbers 919 in some sense. Maybe 919 is on the side of the helmet. I don't know. However, I love that they're doing this because it's been a couple of years since we've had some sort of alternative uniform. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the bell tower uniforms with the brick helmet and the slobbering wolf on it. And that was 2021, I think it was. Yeah. So it's been a while since we've done something fun with some uniforms. So I'm very excited on that front. I hope they don't get it wrong. I don't know how you can get it wrong. Well, you can actually get it wrong. I guess we'll see. No acorns, please. But tell us your thoughts on what you might think the alternate, we think it's a uniform, will be on Friday morning. That will do it for us here on Thursday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on the season that defensive tackle Brandon Cleveland is about to have in 2025. Give us your all-time NC State offensive team, quarterback, all the way down to the offensive lineman. And again, give us your thoughts on this looming announcement for NC State football on Friday morning. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you back here tomorrow on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.